Okay, we're going to keep working towards an assembly where we have multiple components that we bring together with joints to make a single thing. What I'm going to walk you through is this thing here, and then as you can imagine, I'm going to have you on your own keep working on that car as an assembly where the wheels rotate. And so just to wrap your head around what's happening here, we're going to have this base. That's like, it has this little stand on the bottom. If you can see my cursor. So this little stand on the bottom, and then an upright piece with a hole in it. And this shaft goes through here. Now that I think about it, I might actually make some little flanges on this shaft when we make it, so that it doesn't slide freely in there forward and backwards. But we'll see how to do that. And I'm going to show you how to do the following things. So we've already done sketches and extrudes. I'm going to show you how to do chamfers and fillets. Those are flattenings and roundings of corners and edges. Often they're used to reduce stresses in objects, but they also can just be used for, aesthetic, looks sort of nice. You can see that the corners here on the base are chamfered. Those are flat sort of chop-offs. And then the fillets are the rounded parts of the upright section of the base. So I'll show you how to do that, and that's really easy. And then the second thing, this is going to be an important tool for us, is the revolve. So I'll show you how to create this crank arm with the wheel that I guess I didn't make gear teeth on this, but you could imagine that maybe would eventually have gear teeth on it that you could use to power something. And you would use the gear teeth by using a pattern tool where you'd make one gear tooth and then pattern it all the way around. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make these two parts, but we're not going to assemble them, and then we'll assemble them in class next Tuesday. Okay, so what do we need to know about the dimensions? So here are the dimensions for the base. So what this says is, let me sort of let you have a second to get your bearings. It's going to be 1 inch across when you're looking down the hole. It's going to be 1 inch like depth, so that the part of the base that it rests on is a 1x1 square before you cut out those chamfers. And then it's going to be 1 inch high from the bottom. Both the part that it rests on, the horizontal part, and the vertical part are going to have thicknesses of 0.2 inches. And then the hole is going to be a diameter of 0.2 inches, and it's going to be, the center of that hole is going to be 0.2 inches from the top. Okay, so if you think like the radius of that hole is 0.1 inch because the diameter is 0.2, then it's 0.1 from the top to the top of that hole, and then another 0.1 from the top of the hole to the center of the hole. And then what else we're going to need? These chamfers, we can just sort of do that by eye. I didn't give any values here. And then when we do the fillets to round that top part, we are going to make the radius of those fillets 0.1, and that's what makes it a perfectly round path with a diameter of 0.2. So that's what we're going to do. And then for the crank arm, here are the dimensions for that. The what you can think of as the gear, but for us it's just a disc, has a thickness of 0.05 and a diameter of 1 inch. From the, you can think of it as from the inside of the disc to the end of the round crank arm is 0.75, or in other words, it's 0.80 from the end of the round crank arm to the outside edge of the disc. And then we have a rectangular handle that is tangent to the round crank arm on one side and extends 0.4 inches. Okay, so that's what we're doing. I'll probably be referring back to this as we go, but that sort of gives you a sense of what we're trying to do. And we're just trying to make these two parts today. Okay, so let's go right into Fusion. And I'm going to make a new project. Remember, if you start out in this environment, you can go up to this grid, the data panel, create a new project. I'll call this in class demo. So that's my new project. And I am going to start a new design. Well, I think that's already a new design, but I'll start a new design. And I'll save it just to make sure that it's going to the right place. So I want this design to go in my new project. Where did that go? These are all my projects. Okay, so I'm going to call this crank, and I'm going to put it in this project in class demo. And then I'm going to give myself a little more space, and we're going to start making this crank. And I'm going to start out by making the base. And so the first thing we're going to have to do, so get in the habit of doing this, we're going to, each part is going to be a component. So I'm going to make a new component, and I'm going to call it base. And I'm going to start by making a sketch. And my basic approach to this sketch is going to be, I am going to make half of the shape, and then I'm going to mirror it why am I going to do that? It really it doesn't make a ton of sense, but I'm going to do that just so you see the mirror command. I mean, really, it probably would have been easier to just do the full side shape, and then I'm going to extrude this into or out of the page. But I'm going to make it like this, and we're going to see that mirror again. So now we have to choose the dimensions. The whole base we want to be 1 inch long. And so half of the base is going to be 0.5 since I'm going to mirror it. This is going to be 0.1, again, because I'm going to mirror it. This is going to be 0.2. And then the height is going to be 1. Okay, so that is sort of 1/2 of this shape. And now I'm going to finish that sketch. I'm going to look at it in the home view. And I want to extrude this shape out a full inch. So I hit extrude, this direction is fine, and I'm going to extrude it 1 inch out that way. Okay, so you can see the shape there. If I rotate this around, the hole is going to go through this side, and we are going to do chamfers on this corner and this corner, and then we're going to do fillets on this edge, and then the two on the other side. And then once I'm done with all of those, I'm going to choose all of those features on this shape, and I'm going to mirror them. And my mirror plane is just going to be this back plane. Okay, get over here. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make that hole that goes through. I guess I'll choose this as my plane to sketch. And it's fine that it's sideways. I can work with that. So I am going to do a sketch of a circle. And now that I have that circle, I'm going to make all the dimensions. I want the diameter of this circle to be 0.2. I want the distance from the center of the circle to this side to be 0.2. And I want this to be centered, which means I want the distance from the center of the circle to this to be half of the overall, and that's 0.5. It looks like it already chose that for me. So there we go. We want to cut this hole through that base. And so now I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to extrude. And it thinks we want to add material. We want to remove material, so drag it the other way. And we just want it to go in this direction all the way through. So I'm just going to hit that. And then when I click OK, you can see that that hole has gone all the way through. Okay, so we're getting there. So next I'm going to do the two chamfers. Remember that chamfers are, it's basically like if you just took a file and filed off the sharp edge to make it flat. So we're going to file off this edge, and we're going to file off this edge using chamfer. So I'm going to highlight both of those two. I'm going to highlight two of them together. I'm going to hit the Control button and click on that, and it lets you highlight two things at once. You can see now those are both blue. And chamfer and fillet are both under modify. So go up here to modify, and we'll do chamfer, and it asks us on these two edges, what's the length of that filed part do we want? Do we want it to be a very subtle thing, or do we want it to be bigger? Here's what it would look like if you put in 0.1, sort of bigger. If I put in 0.5, notice it's a little more subtle. I'm going to just put in not 0.5, 0.05, sorry. And I'm going to do 0.05 on both of these. And so click OK, and that's done. And now I'm going to do the fillet. Well, on the fillet, I'm actually going to do 4 edges. I'm going to do this one and this one on this side, and then the two that are hidden on the other side, this one and the one back here. And again, to highlight these, I'm going to use the Control button on the keyboard. So I'll highlight this, this. You can see both of those are highlighted. And then I'm just moving it so I can get to these two. Hold down Control, keep Control held down, and go this and this. And now we have 4 of those, and we want to do fillets. So go to Modify Fillet, and it asks us again what the radius of the tangent is that we want. See, it says specify the radius value. Well, we want the diameter to be 0.2, so it covers that, so that it rounds that whole side. That means the radius is 0.1, so I'm going to do this. And now you can see if I rotate this, or oh, oh, I made a mistake. Okay, we did not want to do this one. It did right. I guess I forgot to highlight one of those. Let's back out of this and do this again. Okay, so here's our starting point. All right, I wasn't thinking about this right. I didn't want to fillet both of those 2 edges. I didn't want this whole thing to be round because I'm going to mirror this. And so I want the back of it to still be flat. Okay, so you'll see what I mean when we mirror this if you don't see right now. But instead, I'm just going to choose this edge and this edge. So Control, click there. Okay. And I'm going to fillet those 2 edges. And I'm going to make those 0.1. And now you can see, hopefully, from above, that this is what we want. Since we're about to mirror this thing to double it, we didn't want to fillet this side, this edge, or this edge, because otherwise we'd have like a double sort of McDonald's arches thing when we did the mirror command. So this is what we want. Okay. So now everything we've done, we want to mirror. And we want the mirror plane to be this. So how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to go through here and I'm going to highlight every one of these features to mirror it. So we want to, let's see. I gotta exit out of this rotation tool. Okay, so this was our original extrude, and it sort of looks the way we have it here, like that includes everything we've done. But what you would see if you mirrored this is that the hole wouldn't be there, the chamfer wouldn't be there, and the fillets wouldn't be there. So now that I've highlighted this extrude, I want to hold down Control and keep highlighting things. So I want to highlight, so that's the hole, and I want that to be included in my mirror. And here's my chamfer, I want that to be included. And here's my fillet, and I want that to be included. And now we have everything. And now I'm going to go up here to mirror. It says, okay, you've selected these 4 things you want to mirror. What's the mirror plane that you want to do? And we want to do the back here. And you can see as soon as you click on that, it shows you what this is going to look like. And now we have this base made. Okay, so there's the base. And it follows all the dimensions we wanted. And in this base, you saw for the first time a chamfer and a fillet. Those can, like I said, be useful for actual sort of engineering purposes, but they also can just make your object look nice. And I'm going to cancel out of here, and now we're done with this base. Okay, so now we're going to make the crank arm. And so the crank arm is going to be a new component. So go up here to Create and click New Component. And I'll just write crank. And you always have to choose a parent of every new component. And so the parent of this crank is going to be the base. It's sort of like which one what component are you defining your new component in terms of? Okay, so that's all good. And so now you can see that we're on to the new component. It's sort of made the base that we designed look like a ghost because that's not what we're working on anymore. And the way you can see what you're working on is this little dot next to the component. If we wanted to keep working on the base, you'd click on that and that would be your active component, and then this would reappear. And if you went to crank, you would see, okay, we're not working on the crank currently. But we do want to work on the crank, so I'm going to switch the active component back to the crank. And you can leave this here as a visual reference in this sort of ghost look, or if you want to get it out of there completely, if you think it's distracting, you can go to the base and click the eyeball thing, and now that base just totally isn't there. I don't really have a preference one way or the other, but these eyeball things are telling telling you which ones are visible as you go. Okay, so for the crank, we're gonna use the revolve tool, and we haven't used that yet. And the basic idea of the revolve is that you define through the sketcher, you define a shape and an axis of rotation. And so the shape you define is just in the plane like a sketch, and you define an axis of rotation. And then when you go to the revolve tool, you can imagine if you took that sketch that you have and swept it around the axis, all of the volume that's swept out by your sketch is going to be the new shape. Usually we're going to do that 360 degrees. You can do it other amounts too. So you could cut out a 180 degree sweep, and then it would have a flat side or whatever. Maybe I'm sort of getting ahead of myself. But so let's see what this looks like. So we're going to go to the sketcher, and I'm going to go to the plane I usually do, like this. This is the shape I want. So I'm going to go from about here to about here for now. And I'm going to cut out. So, okay, my idea is I'm going to make a shape like this, and I haven't thought about the dimensions yet. And then this highlighted line is going to be my axis of rotation. And so now try to imagine if you, so imagine that this blue line is like a toothpick and this is a piece of paper. And if you rotated that toothpick in your hand, this highlighted full shape would sweep out a shaft this way and a disc this way. Okay, and the disc, if we go a full 360 degree rotation, this disc is going to have a radius from here to here. So its diameter will go all the way from like here to here. And the shaft will have a diameter from here to here. Okay, well, let's look at the dimensions. So I need the thickness of the shaft when we do the rotation to be 0.2 inches. I need the disc to have a diameter of 1 inch and a thickness of 0.05. Okay, so now I have to do my dimensions. I want this to be 0.05. The diameter of my disc is going to be 1 inch, so since this is the radius, I want this to be 0.5. This is the radius of my shaft. So I want this to be 0.1. And then I want this length to be 0.8. So there's my complete sketch. And so I'll finish that, and let's look at it in a different view. What's the view that I want? Not that. Okay, there's the view that I want. Okay, so let's think a little bit about various ways we could rotate this and think about which one we want. So let's highlight this, and we're going to tell it that we want to revolve this sketch. So I'm going to go to revolve, and it says, okay, you selected a profile. Now select an axis. Okay, let's think about what this would do if we chose various axes. So what would happen if we revolved this shape around this? Try to imagine now a toothpick here, and you're spinning this paper shape around a toothpick here. What we would get there is like a rectangular bowl shape. Okay, so let me do that, and we'll see what that looks like. And then, okay, so if we do that, notice that we get this bowl shape where the protrusion here that's supposed to be half of a disc is the wall of the bowl. And what was supposed to be this shaft is the base of the bowl. Okay, that's not what we want. What if we did this to 180 degrees? What would that look like? Well, that's just going to look like we chopped this bowl in half, because instead of rotating all the way around, we only rotated 180 degrees around. Okay, we don't want that. So now let's get rid of that axis, and it'll go back to this. And imagine what it would look like now if our axis, we chose this. Okay. Well, this time it's going to be like a flat plate with a round post coming out of the middle. See if you can visualize how that would be. Like if you had your toothpick here, and your paper shape was this, and you spun the toothpick around, and think about all the material that this paper shape would sweep out. So I'll select that, and it's still at 180. We want to go to 360. And so you get this flat plate with this protrusion here. That's not what we want. So now let me do it the way we do want it. So I'll get rid of that axis. And we want our axis to be this. And we want to sweep 360 degrees. And so this is the shape we want. So you see how that revolve works? It's a really useful tool for doing symmetric shapes that are symmetric about an axis. Okay, and then we want to make a handle, and the handle, I didn't give the thickness of it. Can we tell? It looks to me like that handle has a thickness of 0.05. It looks the same thickness as the disc. And we can see that its length is 0.4. So, okay, I'm going to do another sketch now. And I'm going to do it on this plane. And my rectangle is going to be this. You can see that we already have these sides tangent to the shaft, so that's good. We don't have to change that. We do have to change the length. So I'm going to make the length of this rectangle 0.4. And that's the end of that sketch. So now all we have to do is extrude this shape. So I'm going to highlight this and this. And this, and this. We have to get that whole shape that we want extruded. And I'm going to go to extrude. It shows the right direction, and I'm going to make that 0.05. Okay, so now we have it, and we use that revolve tool to get it. Oh, one other thing. Okay, so I'm going to go from here to here. We can change all these dimensions later, and then I'll go down to here, here, here. All right, and keep making this line here to here, 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 here. Okay, so we have to make sure that these that we have dimensions so that this is going to work. What we want, so think about, first of all, we're still going to do the rotation around this axis. So think about this as the toothpick and spinning this shape around. These two flanges here are going to sweep out circles that kind of, one is on each side of the base, and it's going to keep it from sliding McDonald's straw style in and out of the base. Okay, we do have to make sure that it's the right size to fit. So I'm going to go to dimension. The thickness of the base is 0.2, so I need to make this 0.2. Or one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes you want to leave a little margin. If we made it exactly 0.2, it would fit on there tightly. Maybe that would be okay if you had a lubricated thing, but maybe it wouldn't be what you want otherwise. Also, let's see, I chose the wrong. What I want is, oh, I see what's going on, I think. We do not want that or that. We want, so you need to just have one closed shape. If you have any overlaps, it's going to mess everything up. So okay. So now the dimension we want is just this. And we want that to be 0.2. I'm going to just do a tight fit, but remember that often you're going to want to leave yourself a little tolerance for things to move. And what's going on here? Okay, so I'm going to make this, let's make this 0.05. Let's make this 0.05. They already were. And then this dimension, I'm going to make 0.2. Okay, so now we finally have the dimensions we want. Now let's make this the same as this. This whole thing is 0.3. Let's see, what dimension is this? That is 0.2. That is 0.25. Oh my God, what the heck? We had some crazy thing happen with an angle here. Okay, perpendicular, perpendicular. Okay, so now I'm finished with this sketch. And if I click Finish Sketch, it assumes we wanted the same axis of rotation as we did before. If you don't, we could go back into the Revolve command. And now we have these two flanges that are going to fit on the two sides of the base. And now this thing won't slide in and out. Okay, so that's it for today. Those two parts. And next time we're going to see how we can place this into the hole of that base and have this crank arm rotate in that stand.